Thank you so much, sir. At the outset, I would like to thank AIOC and Dr. Viral Shah, sir, my first teacher in ophthalmology, for this opportunity. So, my topic is landmark medico-legal judgments by court, what we learned from them as ophthalmologists. So, why are we so burdened? The cost of technology is high in ophthalmology, but given the increasingly competitive environment and social demand, there is a pressure to progressively lower the cost to the consumers. To keep costs down, there is a tendency to do as many surgeries as possible in an assembly line fashion, both in hospital as well as in the charitable camps. So we get in trouble when we try to cut the corners. Be cautious, even if on free side, the penalties are too high, as already mentioned. So why do I say so? There was a very good perspective published in Indian Journal of Ophthalmology in 2019, when the ophthalmologist turned blind by Dr. Nagpal and group. The first line of the article was very important. There is none so blind as one who will not see. So let's look at a couple of judgments and published data and learn few lessons. So, sorry. The Kerala High Court in 2018 reduced the compensation awarded by the session courts against a hospital in Tamil Nadu from 92 million rupees to 22.5 million rupees for victims of negligence in an eye camp, which was partially funded by DBCS. Criminal charges against the doctors and administrator of the hospital were thankfully dropped. The reasons given by the Honorable Court to award compensation was that there was no approval to run the hospital, consent to operate was not taken from State Pollution Control Board, there was no proper design and maintenance of the operating room, there was no anesthetist, no pharmacist, and no facility to do preoperative laboratory tests, and there was no formalin which was indented despite it being out of the stock by the hospital head. The court also frowned up the fact that knowingly fully well that the intraocular lens cost only 56 rupees for the purpose of attracting the villagers has distributed pamphlets stating that they will be implanted with intraocular lens worth 1000 to 3000 rupees. Despite Pseudomonas having been cultured from ringer lactate being used, the manufacturing company was absolved by any wrongdoing because a sample of different batch number examined from the company stocks was found to be as required standard. So this is, however, not the first and only case where doctors have been operated or organized eye camps have been penalized. So there was another landmark judgment in 1989, which was also on similar case where 84 persons in Khurja and 15 in Moradabad lost their vision due to endophthalmitis, which led to guidelines being laid for the eye camps. So, Honorable Supreme Court awarded more than 26.5 million compensation, including the 6% interest in one case for failing to diagnose retinopathy of prematurity. Though the case and the award was not against the ophthalmologist, but against the pediatrician who treated the premature baby and the hospital, plus the state of Tamil Nadu, but the implications of this judgment for ophthalmologists in terms of quantum of compensation being awarded for loss of vision is enormous. So in another recent case where a patient of dengue developed intraocular hemorrhage and was seen by ophthalmologist after 13 hours, the complainant who finally lost his vision was awarded 3.5 million compensation despite correct treatment having been given by the doctors. Recently, a patient following LASIK surgery for high myopia underwent toric implantable Collamer lens. For unsatisfactory results, claimed a sum of 60 million plus for compensation. Thankfully, the court did not agree to such exorbitant claims, especially when the boy completed higher education after surgery and was gainfully employed and active on social media as found by an investigator hired by the hospital. So where we are, the Consumer Protection Act 1986 in its definition has excluded free services from purview of Consumer Protection Act, but the Honorable Supreme Court in its wisdom decided that doctors providing free services also would be covered with the purview of CPA. This decision has never been reviewed thereafter, and the implication of free medical and eye camps are being realized belatedly and very slowly. It has been repeatedly seen that cause of infection and ophthalmitis in cases of multiple surgeries at eye camps is linked to use of RL and eye drops, which are sometimes of dubious quality. No company manufacturing the drug used in these eye camps have been to date prosecuted despite being implicated many a times. For ophthalmologists, there was also the issue regarding the off-label use of injection Avastin. Hospital in Gujarat and another hospital in Varanasi reported loss of vision following Avastin injection. So this is not the only case in India. There have been various incidences, similar incidences in past. The company manufacturing the drug played safe by stating that it promotes Avastin only for carcinoma colon and does not support use of drug through routes of administration for which it was not developed or registered. Given the relative safety and low risk involved in cataract surgery, as well as the desire to cut the cost, competing in a throat cut environment, most of the ophthalmologists in India do not insist on preoperative test except maybe blood sugar. This has been frowned upon frequently by courts, and recently in a state consumer dispute redressal commission of Maharashtra case, the article medical tests before eye surgery when you need them and when you don't, published by American Academy of Ophthalmology in the year 2019, was referred to and quoted. Compensation was awarded in this case for not doing pre-operative test as well as not taking proper consent. Ophthalmologists, like other doctors of other specialties, use abbreviations and short forms instead of detailed notes. So this was highlighted in a recent case where the ophthalmologist on 24th day of birth had examined the premature child and written in notes, no ROP seen. The child was thereafter discharged and advised to come for follow-up in a special clinic where such children are being closely monitored. The court observed that OP5 should have performed the retinal examination with binocular indirect ophthalmoscope on dilatation of pupil with scleral depression to ascertain a vascular zone at the periphery of retina. Nothing is forthcoming from the medical record that this was done. Therefore, it appears to be only a bare visual examination done by OP5 in haste to cover up. The court's view was that neither had the doctors done examination for ROP nor had they advised follow-up for ROP for the child. 6.4 million compensation was awarded in this case. A 9-year child underwent ophthalmic surgery for squint. The patient suffered cardiac asystole towards the end of the surgery. Successful resuscitation was done, but the patient continued to have episodes of asystole and bradycardia, for which the pacemaker wire was placed. The patient subsequently passed away in ICU. NCDRC concluded that a consent obtained from the mother of the child was just a routine consent and not really an informed consent. Although the anesthetist claimed that retrobulbar block was given by the surgeon, the 3 document, that is the anesthesia note, the ophthalmic surgery note, or the physician's progress note, had no mention of retrobulbar block. Hence, the NCDRC concluded that no retrobulbar block was given. The word glyco was written instead of glycopyrrolate in the OT record, and use of confusing abbreviations in medical record is deficiency in service. Compensation was awarded on these grounds. So where even improper OPD prescriptions, especially if post-operative instructions are not properly written, can result in damage being awarded by courts. After a pterygium surgery, the doctor advised the patient to use mitomycin C, but committed error by not prescribing the medicine was to be used for how many days. Appellant, instead of coming back for checkup, continued using MMC without consulting the doctor, which led to damage caused to his eye. Compensation was awarded as limited negligence of the doctor for not writing a complete and proper prescription. Contributory negligence by the patient was held by the court in this case because he continued to take medicine on his own without consulting a doctor. In another case, a post-cataract surgery patient who was a coolie did not take rest. Patient developed corneal injury due to working in his fields. The court held that he should have been instructed about post-operative care and follow-up. Both the medical record was devoid of such instructions. Compensation was awarded by lower courts, upheld by NCDRC. So this is my last slide. So lessons learned: time have changed now, then there is cost to be paid even for providing free services. In India, the prevalent tradition of providing free services has also resulted in a lowering of guard by the eye surgeons. These mass eye camps, popularly called as, let's say, mass eye surgeries, have been done for millions of people's benefit. But recently, there is an increase in number of cases where exorbitant penalty has been imposed by courts, and this has destroyed careers of many ophthalmologists. Time has now come to introspect and to factor the cost of litigations and compensation into the cost of surgeries so that we not only benefit the patient, but also safeguard the ophthalmologist and help them fulfill their responsibilities toward their own dependence. So problems are bound to happen. How we face them and how we overcome them will make us a better surgeon. Thank you.